issuing the strongest statements from the United Nations, condemning the attacks against civilians and religious places, including recent airstrikes in Gaza. He called on Israel to abide by its obligations under international law, and he called on the UN to act immediately to get Israel to uphold those obligations and protect Palestinians, whom he said are bearing the brunt of the ongoing violence in the occupied territories and in Israel. And he said that he's willing to call a meeting if other member states are willing to ask for one. This was a statement that he released on Twitter. The Secretary General, for his part, issued a statement expressing his great concern about the escalating violence as well, and sadness about the death of civilians, but he stopped short of condemning the attacks on Gaza. While he was very quick to condemn rocket attacks into Israel, he called on Israeli forces to use maximum restraint. Listen to what he said.
Realistically, is there anything that the UN can do to stop the violence?
All power to act comes from the Security Council, and at this stage we cannot even get the Security Council to agree on a statement to the press about the situation there. This is traditionally a very thorny issue for the Council. We know that Russia, Norway and Tunisia yesterday suggested a statement calling for calm and an end to the violence there. This is still being discussed. The United States has said that it does not want to do anything to exacerbate the situation, suggesting that a statement might in fact do that, exacerbate the situation. So we are essentially at an impasse in the Security Council unless they can come to some agreement later on today. But for now, strong words from the President of the General Assembly, condemnation of attacks on Israel from the Secretary General, and wait and see what happens with the Security Council.
Kristen Salumi there, reporting live from the United Nations in New York for the moment. Kristen, thank you. You're looking at the latest pictures out of Tel Aviv. This has all happened within the last few minutes. The military wing of Hamas has said that it's fired over 130 rockets towards Tel Aviv in response to an Israeli airstrike that had flattened the tower block in the strip. The Al-Qassam brigade said that we are carrying out our promise by launching a massive grenade strike against Tel Aviv. Critically wounded, and as Harry Fawcett was telling us, it appears that a bus has been hit in these airstrikes. A barrage of rockets we saw here on Al Jazeera leaving the Gaza Strip, some of which were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defense system. But obviously, looking at these pictures now from Israeli television, some of those projectiles have gone through and have reached their target. Let's bring in Al Jazeera's Harry Fawcett once again, who's in southern Israel. And Harry, you were able to watch those missiles going basically overhead of you there, and their attempted interception by Iron Dome.
That's right, yes. Those missiles fired shortly before what at local time was coming up to 9 o'clock, and that was exactly when the warning had been that there was likely to be a surprise in Tel Aviv. That was what Hamas's military wing was talking about. And it was less than an hour after the Israeli attack on that 13-story residential building inside Gaza, the Hanabi building. They had issued warnings to the people who live in that building, the tens of families who live in that building ahead of time, to evacuate it, and it was then brought down with at least 2 strikes. Hamas had said that attacks on residential areas would be met with an intensification and longer range in terms of its rocket response. Then it said that it would attack Tel Aviv, and it has made good on that escalatory pledge, just as Israel said that it was going to increase the pace and the intensity of its own attacks. On both sides are seemingly set on an escalatory path right now. And this attack on Tel Aviv represents the most serious such breach of Israeli defences, which they're home to a very large population, and this does represent an extremely dangerous last hour in what was already the biggest escalation we've seen since the last war in 2014.
The US State Department, Harry, says that the US is deeply concerned about the escalation between Israel and those launching rockets from Gaza. It says that it seems some encouraging steps from both the Israeli and Palestinian side. What would it take to end this violence now, to take the heat out of this at this point?
It's very difficult to see the heat being taken out anytime soon. I think a lot will depend on the casualty numbers on the Israeli and Gaza side. We've just heard that in Holon, where that bus was struck, that there were 3 injuries there. So I'm just going to ask my colleague, was that in that bus attack, or we don't know? We think perhaps not. But yes, so injuries are already being counted. If there are greater numbers of fatalities, of course that leads further to the escalatory tendency of this whole situation. The reports we were getting out of Gaza were that Egyptian attempts to mediate had so far not been met with success. There were reports that they had been trying to persuade Hamas in the first instance to dial down the level of its rocket fire and then try and convince Israel to respond. However, neither side apparently in the mood to do those things. The build-up of tension has been going on for a month now, since the beginning of Ramadan. We have one more day of Ramadan on Wednesday before the Eid festival, and this is the kind of situation that Eid will be marked. It has been an extraordinary couple of weeks of rising, simmering tensions, with the threat in the background always that it could spread to Gaza in this way, and it has done so, despite perhaps what the US was talking about, the decisions by Israel to not allow Jews onto the Temple Mount, as it's known to Jews, the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound on Monday, to disband or change the route of the planned nationalist march through the Old City, which ended up not happening. If they were seeing those concessions in some way, a lot of empty trucks coming back having delivered military